Our next speaker up to stage, we've got Sean Beeman from Genesis Pharms. Yeah. Doing some incredible work for our community. If you want to know about RSO, this is the guy to talk to. And I'm really excited to hear about some unconventional delivery systems tonight.
So how's everybody doing tonight? My name is Sean Beeman. I'm the owner of Genesis Pharms. I got to be honest, I'm nervous as hell up here. I might get over it here in a minute, but this is a little nerve-wracking. So, like she pointed out, I'm here to discuss an unconventional delivery method, which in my daily life has become extremely popular for many people. Now, the word suppository, when people first hear that, they all have the natural reaction. This is what I deal with every day. You want me to put that where? Now, there's a lot of reasons that we recommend people try the Rick Simpson oil by suppository. For those of you that have tried ingesting it, you quickly learn that you can't take too much or you can become uncomfortably high from it. It's not really a recreational product. I've met very, very few people who enjoy the alteration that RSO has to offer. It really is more of a medicinal product. And a lot of people want the relief from cannabis, but are not necessarily looking to get high, or actually many that come to me are looking to not get high. These are the people that walk into dispensaries that are looking for CBDs. Really what I interpret that as is people are looking for cannabis for relief from many different situations, but they're not looking for the recreational side. Some of us do choose the recreational side, and that is a whole nother delivery method, as we learned about earlier today. There are many different delivery methods of the same thing. RSO, a lot of people choose to deliver it by suppository because it produces almost immediate and very profound medical relief. We have people from chronic pain situations that literally in 30 seconds from delivery are unable to put a number on their pain. We have seizure patients that will do a suppository, and from the first one, we'll start counting days of being seizure-free. I have a good friend of mine in this room, I won't point out who it is, but we're at one seizure in the past 211 days. And to me, people, that's nothing shy of a miracle. This person went from many a day to one in over 6 months. And we see this, I see this on a daily basis. I see seizure patients heal themselves. I see cancer patients heal themselves. I see chronic pain patients that wake up a couple days later with the epiphany of now they have to figure out what they want to do with their lives. There really is huge and profound medical benefits that has to be offered in cannabis. Now, Bethany put the title on here, capillary uptake. I really kind of appreciated that, and that's because I explained to this poor lady that my two most popular products at Genesis Pharms are RSO delivered by suppository, and my second most popular product is RSO delivered as a female lubricant. And both of these have amazing health properties. The lube, we have just had a lady who just reported last week that she canceled her surgery for endometriosis after using this product. After 3 months of the pain not coming back, she believed that she was on her path to healing and, canceled the surgery. That's amazing. I get many reports of women who use it to immediately relieve menstrual cramps. That is another amazing benefit. To get relief as quickly as it can be delivered, this product is just, it's amazing the things that we see. I didn't really have a big spiel to get up here and tell you. I just wanted to get up and explain the different delivery methods. I'm sure I'm going to have a ton of questions here in a minute. But I do have my own personal beliefs as to why this oil is so healing, and it's not that it's a drug. I believe it truly is an essential oil that our body needs, which is why when it's delivered to our body, it helps us with our battle. I see it work for people with cancer, with chronic pain, with depression, my vets with PTSD. I have hepatitis. That's what got me off on this story. In 2010, I was given a year or so to live because I had a cirrhotic liver. I used this oil and healed it in a few months. I don't believe that this oil healed me. I believe that my body did. I believe that my body needed this oil in order to fight its battle. I believe cannabinoids to be as critical as vitamin C. You know, if 100 years ago society had demonized vitamin C, we'd all have other nasty-ass diseases like rickets and scurvy in our life. And if some hippie snuck you a bag of oranges and you started eating it, that's not what's going to beat your disease. Your body beats that disease. Your body just requires that it have this one essential tool in its tool belt along with other tools. And that's really what I think RSO is, a very essential, very needed, and very amazing medicine. So if anybody's interested in this, I brought my cards in the back. I brought samples of RSO. I brought a bunch of the lube for the ladies. These are all free samples. Oregon has allowed us to hand things out, and I brought my crew. Being an OLCC producer, I'm actually not allowed to do that myself, but they didn't say my crew can't, so if anybody's interested in a sample, please get one. You know, there's a lot I can say about what I've seen, but, you know, that's speaking of other people's stories. But, you know, a few of them that come to light is we had a lady just a few weeks ago who, after 29 days on suppositories, literally coughed her lung tumor out of her lung and doesn't have cancer anymore. We have seizure patients that go seizure-free. It's just about helping people with their battle, no matter what the battle is. You know, when I see my brethren with bone-on-bone pains, there's not much we can do there. We need some surgery and a new joint put in. But once we get our new knee replacement, then it really can help us back onto the road to recovery. So I probably should go through the rest of this nice presentation that my compliance officer put together for me that I did look at earlier. But this really is my daily basis. This is what I deal with. People come to me and they say they're looking for cannabis for relief. Most people that are sent to me aren't told the word suppository because their family members just don't break that to them. They let me. But I've gotten pretty good at it. But there's a lot of reasons that this works differently. Before I get into what we pulled off the web, I'm going to give you the basic difference as to my understanding. Because RSO is a very activated, it's completely activated form of cannabis. If you swallow it, it's going to get you loaded. But when we do rectal delivery, it bypasses the metabolism that happens in our liver and kidneys, which is what produces the high. So when people do large doses of RSO by suppository, it avoids the psychotropic effects for 99 out of 100 people. Every once in a while, somebody with a fast metabolism will report a little buzz can show up 12 to 24 hours later, but most people report no high or no low. It's just instant healing. I mean, literally, it will take a pain level of 12 to unable to put a number on it before the person walks out of the restroom. So rectal delivery does provide the most effective way for your body to take in the medicinal compounds of cannabis, and it makes them available almost immediately. The advantages of rectal delivery, let's see, I gotta keep clicking this. Like I said, it absorbs into the bloodstream quickly and it delivers, and you get more of the effects in a much quicker delivery method, and it doesn't give us that high, so it's just the feeling of relief. It's 50 to 70% more effective than if I take the same amount of medicine and swallow it by mouth, because if I swallow it by mouth, it has to be digested and metabolized and transformed. And you never gain something for nothing, so there is loss. Now, granted, I've been on the internet. You can pull up numbers that argue with this, but I believe in this. I see this. I see it to be extremely effective compared to when we eat the same amounts. And after the first use, your effects are going to be very predictable. You can figure out how effective it is, how many days it lasts for, when you should do one, when you can try to stay in front of your chronic pain. Quite often I get people that will, find that a 5-day regimen is what they need to control their chronic pain. They do a suppository every 5 days, and that keeps them in front of their chronic issues. But after a month or so of doing that regimen, this isn't like a drug. With a drug, we need 1 today and 2 tomorrow and 10 next week. If a 5-day regimen has worked for a 30-day period without the symptoms coming back, then we see if we've got enough healing and recovery to bounce that out to every 7 days or every 10 days. Because as we get better, we need less, which is not what Western medicine's philosophy is. It begins to take effect almost immediately. You know, medicinal effects can last up to 8 hours. They can last up to a week. It all depends on the effect that we're after. Cancer patients may do up to 3 suppositories in a day. Rick Simpson's protocol is 60 grams. On his video, he talks about 60 grams in 90 days, because if you're going to eat it, there's going to be a period of ramping up. But at 3 suppositories a day, with the thought being that your blood cycles every 8 hours, people are getting through their 60 grams in 40 days and seeing, I mean, literally, we see miracles walk in and out of the building on a daily basis. I really am blessed to be in the position that I'm in. Yeah, people, you got to realize, I've been in the industry a long time. I'm sure most of you know what that means. Today, I sit around and I talk to Grandma about sticking my really good cannabis up her bum so she doesn't get high. So, it's just the way it is. Welcome to my life. And after we get over that, I talk to women about their vaginas. This is a man that couldn't even say that word 2 years ago. So RSO is absorbed in the bloodstream through the intestinal wall when delivered by suppository, which avoids our gastrointestinal tract, which is where a lot of the metabolization occurs. Now, I got to give you my disclaimer. I might not be very accurate with our body chemistry. I'm a pot grower. I'm not a doctor. But this is my understanding as to why it doesn't get us loaded. Many other drugs, if you deliver them that way, would get you extremely high, extremely fast. But this particular oil needs a metabolization in order to give us that alteration. And without it, it just gives us amazing and profound relief. So like I said, I brought plenty of samples for everybody here. I guess I should also touch on the one additional fact about this female lubricant, because if anybody goes out and researches this personal lubricant, the ladies are going to quickly find out there is a product in Colorado. This product is marketed as the 20-minute orgasm tool. And the reason there is because it does increase vaginal blood flow. So if a woman uses it during play, it increases all of her sensations. Women really seem to fall in love with that part of it. It's not really why I make the product. It's the lady that told me she canceled her surgery for endometriosis. I found that to be a miracle. The 82-year-old woman who sat on my couch and told me that was the strongest orgasm she'd had in 82 years, it was really kind of cute. But that's not why I have it. So I'd like to encourage everybody, step over here. My wife is over here, and Alex, one of my right-hand man. We have plenty of products over here. Please help yourself. I'm sure I got some questions to field, though, before I get off, so. Alan?
Yeah. Hey, Sean, you and I have had a couple of conversations about RSO. One of the things you said to me recently concerned the term THX. And I thought, to me, that was really profound explanation of why RSO is such an interesting stage for concentrates. I thought you explained it well, so.
So what THX is to me is, in case you guys don't know, THX is Lucasfilm's trademark. So the reason that I use THX is because there's no scientist who's ever going to put that designation on a cannabinoid. So, but that's the cannabinoid that's in this plant that is the miracle that we don't know. Okay? And I'm grateful we don't know where the miracle is. I know it's not just THC. I know it's not just CBD. I know it's not synthesized versions. I know it's not distillate captures of just 1 or 2 cannabinoids. It's what they call the synergistic effect. It's what I call, we don't fucking know. Okay? And everybody's afraid to say that. Everybody is guilty of overthinking cannabis. They all want to say THC does this and CBD does that. And I don't buy that because, a cup of coffee will jack you up, but it'll mellow me out. So who says that a sativa is going to have the same effect on everybody in this room? I just don't buy that. So to me, THX is the miracle in this plant. It's what I live, it's what I strive to see on a daily basis.
Yeah, I have a friend who has gum pain from an accident, and she absolutely will not do THC. She has been doing some CBD oil. So do you have any suggestions for her?
Well, so like I said, I meet that lady on a daily basis. And what I would pose to her is, if I could deliver a product that did contain THC, that did give you relief, that did not get you high, would you be willing? And I haven't had somebody say no yet. Okay, what I hear when people say they want CBD is they want to not get stoned. And I can understand that. And that's what this does. And what's even nicer is for those of us that do smoke, when we do the oil, a lot of us that smoke because we want to, but because we need to. Okay, it provides us some medicinal benefit. Smoking is not purely recreational. There definitely is some medicinal benefits and some needs that are met when we smoke. But for those of us that smoke, if you did a dose of my RSO, you'd wake up the next day, your needs would be met, okay? And you would feel better. When your friend came over and said, hey, do you want to smoke a joint? You'd actually get to go, do I want to? You know, that's going to involve me looking at what you have instead of a desperate ploy for some more relief.
I have one more question. Every year they have the Race for the Cure, and they're having it this weekend. And I keep wanting to get a big banner and say, THC cures cancer. Well, we need to do some kind of an outreach like that. And also, you could register in the register guard something called civil comments. And you can comment on any article or letter to the editor. And I do it all the time about Rick Simpson oil. But we need more people to do that. And we need television interviews with people like you, press interviews.
Thank you, dear. Is that Elvie back there? Yes, ma'am. Does everybody know we have Elvie Muskie in the room? What can I do for you, dear? Sorry, buddy.
What? Got excited here. Sorry, didn't even think it. El Soli, as you know, runs this farm in Mississippi that provides now two patients in the country with legal prescriptions for pot.
Right.
I'm one of them. Okay? But I understand that the gentleman has a patent for your suppositories. Have you worked with him? Do you know anything about his work with suppositories? Because the little crap that doesn't think we should have it and blinded me by sending me hemp instead of cannabis, it's got a patent for it, so I guess he believes in it. Have you worked with El Soli at all?
No, I haven't heard that name. Can you tell me the name again?
El Soli. He runs the Mississippi farm where the government has been growing marijuana since the 70s, as far as I'm concerned, maybe earlier.
Is that some of the good ganja that our wonderful federal government gives you?
What do you think? I moved to Oregon. Yeah, thank you.
We got one more, Sean.
As a female with endometriosis, I love hearing that story. I think it's great. I am really curious, though, how somebody like yourself, without obviously a vagina, figured out how to treat somebody with one and with a vaginal specific disease. Just curious for my own, I think it's great.
Okay, so you asked the question. So I did mention earlier that there's a product in Colorado that's marketed as a 20-minute orgasm tool, right? My wife heard about this. She told me to try to make some. That was when I learned how much I don't know about chemistry. So I took some MCT, which is liquid coconut oil, and some white grapeseed extract, and I just pulled a number out of my ass and mixed a ratio of 1 to 10 together, put in a little bit of RSO to make it weak, and I stuck my pH pen in it. And it didn't work. I know I was supposed to pH it to a 5.5, but my really expensive pH pen didn't work. So I took it out and I put it in water and I calibrated it and it was spot on. And I took it back out and I put it in the oil and it didn't work. So I called my buddy who works in one of the labs, wears a white lab coat, and I said, hey, I'm trying to take some oils and make them be a 5.5 pH. And he said, Sean, you can't pH an oil. pH is a water measurement. And I said, well, that explains why my pH pens didn't work. I said, so what I'm trying to do is trying to come up with a white grapeseed extract blended in with liquid coconut oil that's a 5.5 pH equivalent. And, you know, being the guy that he is and as smart as he is, he says, Sean, if you're trying to make a lubricant for your wife, you need to formulate that. I said, wow, Josh, okay, you got me on it. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. What does formulate mean? And he says, well, you know, you got to come in the lab and we have to play around with different ratios and run calculations and come up with a pH equivalent. And I said, well, what does that involve? And he said, I don't know, maybe a day of my time. I don't know what Bethany would quote for a day of her lab, but it wasn't cheap. So I told my wife, I said, you know, it's going to cost a lot of money to make sure this stuff is vaginally friendly and, you know, and a full day of my time. And she looked at me and said, okay. So I went to the lab, I spent the money. The guy in the lab coats told me that it was a 5.5 equivalent, that it was vaginally friendly. We played with it. We gave it to some of our girlfriends to play with. For once, instead of getting reports on how well people were sleeping and how they're sleeping, I'm now getting reports from my wife's girlfriends on how they're climaxing. It was kind of interesting for a minute or two, but you know, I'm 50, folks. I got over it really quickly. But then one lady called and said, she called me, she says, oh my God, Sean, my OB needs to know what's in that. I was like, you know what's in that, and why are you talking to me about anything that has to do with you and your OB? She says, well, I'm in his office right now, and he wants to know. And I'm like, well, then tell him. But why? And she says, well, and she's my age. She says, I have to come to my OB every month to be treated for this issue that I've had since I was 13. I understood what that meant. She said, I'm in this month, and she doesn't need to treat me for some reason. The only thing I can think of is that, you know, my husband and I have been using that in the bedroom a lot. And a light bulb went off in my head. I was like, wow, you know, shit'll cure cancer. Why couldn't it cure some simple vaginal imbalance? Come to find out it wasn't just something simple. It really was a life-changing thing, and she really got some serious healing out of it. But I just kind of figured it was a one-off situation. I had a gallon of it that I paid, you know, 5 digits worth of money for. Figured at least some good was going to come out of it. And then, you know, it must have been God working in my life. My wife's phone rings, and there's some little old lady on the side of the phone who says, honey, you weren't there when your husband gave me a sample of this lubricant, but I got to let you know that I haven't had my herpes outbreak this month. So I was like, wow, okay. We know people we can have that tested on. Sure as shit. It prevents an outbreak. Then we started hearing about other things. Then women just started doing simple things like spraying it on their tampon and removing their menstrual cramps. Women started noticing that they didn't have the cyclical pain of endometriosis presenting in their cycle. The thing that's weird about healing, you don't notice it. You only notice it when it sucks. It's really kind of weird. That's the one thing that I deal with on my daily basis that's kind of difficult to talk to people about. When we have a pain level, we can really identify with it. If I snap my fingers and your pain level's gone, you quickly forget about it. You don't see that you're not in pain. You just get back on with your life. Of course, everybody in your circle, their jaws are on the ground because they can see that you've healed. But from the inside, you just don't. You only see when you're hurt. It's really kind of weird. But it's amazing, too, at the same time. So for the lady that asked, it was, yeah, you know, how did I know it was vaginally friendly? I spent a ton of money for a guy in a white lab coat to tell me it was safe enough to put inside of my wife. Well, of course, LV. Cannabis used to be in the Sears and Roebuck. Cannabis used to be available everywhere. Cannabis has been a medicine for a long, long time. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Sean. Back in October, I broke 2 bones in my leg. And my husband, who works at Terpene, he had your RSO as a sample. And he said, don't do the Percocet, which I didn't want to. He said, try this as your thing for your pain. I'm like, okay, so 12 weeks into 2 broken bones, I'm completely healed. It should have been 18 weeks. And it was this every day, just a little dab on a cookie right before I went to bed. And it was great. It was good. Thank you.
Thank you, honey. Sure. This lady wants me to mention the video Run from the Cure. That's the Rick Simpson story. That's kind of the story that got us all started. It's the reason we call it Rick Simpson oil. He's the guy out of Canada that rediscovered the healing properties and made a simple video. Shows people how you can make this miraculous medicine at home. You know, Rick's not the end-all and be-all. He's not a doctor either. He stumbled into some very valuable information and shared it. And that's kind of what I consider myself. I stumbled into this information. It saved my life. I have an opportunity to share it with people. It really is a miraculous place to be.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
I was just curious. I'm Sean. Hi, Sean. Nice to meet you. About the uptake. So rectally, the uptake is, you say 50 to 70, but then vaginally, the uptake. Has there been any studies on that you know of, or as far as?
Sure. So
my question is, what is the difference and the differences between taking it rectally and vaginally? And I've heard that you can get high taking it vaginally, and you can't taking it rectally. So I just want to be clear there.
Cool. So, once again, to be clear, there are no hard, fast rules. Most people deliver the medicine rectally and don't get high. I've had many women deliver the same medicine vaginally, and I've probably had a few more of them report getting high. The main difference is the type of suppository used. So when I say the word suppository, most people envision traditional cocoa butter-based objects. It's about 1.5 grams of cocoa butter, so you have something to freeze and hang on to, with up to 0.5 gram of RSO diluted into it. You throw that in your freezer, you have an object you can take out of a mold, and you can insert it with your finger and let your body absorb it. Most people that come to Genesis Pharms and what's about to be back on the recreational market is going to be 0.5 gram deliveries of RSO in a tiny oral syringe. Okay? People choose this oral syringe to deliver it rectally rather than a suppository for a couple reasons. We don't have to use our finger, number one. We don't have any cocoa butter leaking, number two. The main reason that this is the product that's going to be on the market, though, is because the OLCC, in their infinite wisdom, has taken suppositories off the recreational market. I cannot deliver a product that I put the word suppository on. I can deliver 0.5 gram of RSO in a syringe. Okay? And the bud tenders are just going to have to teach people that this can be eaten or delivered rectally. This is probably 15 or 20 doses if it's going to be taken orally, and this is a one-time use if delivered rectally. But back to the vaginal versus rectal difference, this oil here, straight oil, cannabis oil, I'm sure people that have manicured before have quickly learned that the cannabis plant has all kinds of oils in it that are very caustic, just like hot pepper oils. When delivered rectally, we don't have a lot of sensation there, and unless we have really bad hemorrhoids, there's really no sensation of burning. When delivered vaginally, in this form, I hear there is sensation. When the cocoa butter ones are delivered vaginally, I hear that sensation isn't as great, but it's kind of hard to absorb all the cocoa butter. So, really the only way you can tell is to try. And if the buzz does show up, it's like 12 to 24 hours later. That's the real weird part. I mean, that's the super definition of creeper. Okay? You know, some little old lady comes and does a suppository after dinner. She feels great, her pain's gone, she has the best night's sleep in the world. She gets up on the phone the next morning, she starts calling all of her friends. Oh my God, the cannabis isn't the devil. You won't believe how good I slept. I can bend without pain. And she's just calling everybody in the world. And then like halfway through her day, she's like, who'd I just call? You know, and that little buzz can show up every once in a while. But it's not as bad as